Hi, my sweets. Welcome to the end of another day. Today, I'm going to be talking to you again about the group of people that we learned about yesterday. Do you remember what they were called? They are the Potawatomi Native Americans. Say Potawatomi, say Native Americans. Awesome. So, I have the book that I was showing you from yesterday. I have that here. So I'm just going to take you through a couple of the pictures again. So here's the state of Wisconsin. This is the state that we live in. And this red star is where Milwaukee is. So that is where we live. And then the Potawatomi Indian Native Americans lived all over the state of Wisconsin. So they would travel depending upon where the food was. So yesterday we talked about hunting. So if in one area the Native Americans had trouble finding food to eat, then they would have to move to a different place in Wisconsin to try to find food because they didn't have stores, right? Like we did long ago. Do you remember what the name of their houses were that they built? Do you remember their names? They were wigwams. Say wigwam. Yeah, so here they're making a wigwam out of sticks and bark. Here's another picture. I took this picture. I saw this on a hike one time when Mr. Barch and I were hiking through Wisconsin. Do you remember why they left a little crack at the top? Yeah, that's so the smoke could go out, right? So while they're cooking their food or staying warm from the fire, their house did not fill with the smoke. So they made a chimney, it would go up and out. That's why in houses that have fireplaces, I don't have a fireplace, I wish I did. But that's why you have a chimney. So you have the fireplace, then you have the huge chimney tube, the whole brick tube that goes up and out of your house. So the smoke does not go into your living room and into your kitchen and into your bedrooms. It goes up and out of your house. So that's what they were doing here. This is their little chimney. So the smoke would go up and out instead of filling that space with smoke where they're trying to live. That would not be nice to live in a smoke-filled house. You see here's another wigwam made out of that birch bark, that white bark made from the birch tree. Kind of sounds like my name, Barch, right? So I took this picture. I saw this one. And then I also showed you this one of me standing in front of the wigwam. It was a summer day. This was many years ago. Here's a Native American family inside of a wigwam. All of their clothes are made by them. You see the sticks and the bark. Learning about history is so fun, and seeing how far we have come with technology and what we have and what we can be thankful for. I'm so thankful for the heat in my house, right? And a roof over my head and doors and windows. Now, I told you yesterday they couldn't just go to the store, could they, for food? No, they had to go hunting. So I showed you that they would go and they would hunt. What are those? Yeah, deer. And then they would eat the deer meat, and that was called venison. Say venison. Venison is very good. I do like venison. And then they wouldn't just take the meat and leave the rest of it. What would they make out of the rest of the deer? Do you remember? Yeah, they would make clothes and blankets out of the deer skin. They would use the antlers and the bones to make different utensils like cups or bowls or knives or spoons or forks. They would use every piece. They never wasted any of it. So there they were hunting with spears, bows and arrows. So here, they're not in the forest, are they? They're like in a meadow. A meadow is a grassy place when you get outside of the woods. So you see the woods here along the outside, and then here's the meadow. Now look at where this person's hunting, this Native American. They're in the woods. And when you were hunting, you would be so quiet. Because when you're walking, if your feet are making sounds in the leaves or cracking the sticks underneath your feet, it's going to scare away all the animals. So then you're not going to be able to get rabbits or deer or whatever you're hunting. So you got to be so quiet. There's another Native American who is hunting. He has his bow and arrow, and everything that he has on him was made by him. His clothes, the bow and arrow, his shoes, the moccasins that were made out of that deer skin that were super warm. protected his feet as he was walking. Not only did they hunt deer, but they also hunted these big animals. What are these called? Yeah, these are buffalo. So they roam in herds. That means they travel together in great big groups. There's never just one buffalo. Like you'll see like one deer in the woods or one deer walking around. You will never just see one buffalo. They always go together in a big herd, in a big group, because that's how they stay safe. So they would hunt buffalo. Now these are much bigger than deer. So if you hunted buffalo, you had a lot of food for a long time. But you didn't want to keep killing all the buffalo because then you'd have no buffalo. So you had to be careful. So they would hunt the buffalo. Would they waste any of it? They'd use every piece. And the buffalo meat was called pemmican. Say pemmican. Yeah, so they would eat the venison from the deer and the pemmican of the buffalo. That's the buffalo meat. And then their furs, their skins were super warm, so you could use them as blankets, lay on them in your wigwam, cover up with them in your wigwam, make really warm clothes out of them in the winter time for when winter comes. And their horns were very useful too because they were really big, so you could fill them with water or lots of different things. Maybe if you're out picking berries, you could fill the horn full of berries. So there's the buffalo. You see them on the plain. A plain is just a flat piece of grass. It just keeps going. Not very many trees. There's no forests around there. Here they're hunting again in the wintertime, those deer, right? Looks like these might be elk because they got bigger horns. So they would hunt elk, deer, and buffalo. We don't have too many elk that live here. I think long ago we had more, but now they're more so out west. You see them more in like by the mountains. But elk are like really big deer. So here's some elk with big antlers. They did not waste any of that either. Now, I have got more pictures to show you because they didn't just hunt. That's not all they did for food. You're right, they couldn't go to the store, but they did do other things to get food. What do you see happening here? What does he look like he's doing? Yeah, he's fishing. You see he has the fish that he caught up here. Does he have a fishing pole like you and I use when we go fishing? Nope. No fishing pole. He just has a string. And he probably has a worm down in there, right? And maybe he used a knife and carved a piece of buffalo horn or maybe a rock and made it into a hook. Because you can't go to the store to buy fishing hooks. We can go to the store to buy fishing hooks, but they could not. They had to make it. So he's fishing. He's catching fish because then he could take those home and his family can eat those. So maybe he didn't get a deer or a buffalo or an elk while he was hunting. Now he's fishing. And if you wanted to go out on the water, you had to make your own boats. You couldn't go buy them. So what they would do is they would take a huge tree trunk and they would light a fire and burn it the inside out. They'd leave the outside. I actually got to see this last year over fall break. That's what we just had last week when we weren't in school. Mr. Barch and I went out east. We went into Boston and Maine, and I got to see some Native Americans who were actually burning out a canoe. So they light a fire in it and they burn it out and they keep digging it and light another fire. And then they end up cleaning it all out and they make a canoe. This is made out of birch bark, so that white bark that's on the birch tree. So they would make birch bark canoes. But you know, when you burn it, it gets darker, right? The wood gets darker. And then, I don't know, I have to look this up. They would put stuff on it so that it was waterproof. So the water would not get up in there because if water's getting in your boat, what's going to happen? You're going to sink. So they would make their own canoes. Wow, I would have no idea how to do that. But they did. Because if you wanted to go fishing and you wanted to go out into the middle of the lake, because you can't swim out there and like swim and try to fish. No, you have to use a boat. So they would make a boat. And they knew how to do that. The Potawatomi Native Americans. This picture's kind of hard to see, but you see here that they're in their boat and they made a paddle out of wood. You see that? And he has a spear and a string on it. So he sees a fish, so he's going to stick it with his spear Instead of using a string and a hook to catch the fish, he's going to poke it and bring it up out of the water. So if they wanted to eat, they had to find all their food, right? Oof, that was hard. And if you found nothing, you came home, you were probably like this. You had to tell your family, I'm so sorry, I couldn't find any food today. Way different than all the blessings we have today, right? Where you can just go to the store, get in your car, drive to the store. You don't even have to walk to the store. Take the bus to the store, you'd be warm inside. Not back then. Everywhere they walked or took a canoe, or if you had a horse, wow, then that was really special if you had a horse to ride so you didn't have to walk. Here they're fishing. All right, my loves, that's all I'm going to talk to you about today. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what they wore and some other things about them because they played games just like we play games too. So, my loves, let's fold our hands. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the Potawatomi Indians. Let's fold our hands. Remember, my turn first for the Lord's Prayer. We're only going to say half of it. So, I know it sounds funny and it ends kind of in a weird spot, but I'll teach you the rest later. First, let's just learn the first part. Fold your hands, give God your best. My turn first. Our Father in heaven, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your kingdom come. Your will be done, your will be done on earth as in heaven, on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Give us today our daily bread. Amen. Amen. All right, my loves, I'm going to explain that prayer a little bit. God is our Father, right? He made us. He's known us since the beginning of time. He is our Father. So we're praying to God the Father. And then when we say, hallowed be your name, we're saying, may your name be holy. We're not going to use your name when we stub our toe and we get mad and we say, oh my God. We're not going to say that. Your name is holy. So hallowed be your name is may your name be holy. Your kingdom come. That's saying, God, we want you to come back and take us to be with you in heaven. Your will be done. We're saying, God, what you want, let that be done here on earth. So does God want bad things to happen? No, God only wants good things to happen. So what God's will is, what he wants to have happen for us and for everybody else, may that be done. May what he wants be done here on earth. And then we pray, give us today our daily bread. We're saying, God, you give us everything we have. Please give us our food today. We recognize that everything we have is because of you. So, dear God, please give us today our food. And he does, doesn't he? He feeds us every day. All right, my loves, I'll explain the rest of the prayer when we learn the rest of the prayer. I love you. Sleep tight. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Mwah.